Is the
Yes,
volume
girl.
down low?
Spread the message.
For them? Or they can't
All
say
my volume's
anything
on.
anyways, I forgot. Yeah, they can.
Should be good.
We
We,
on?
we are.
Hello, Facebook. Thank you so much for sticking with us, y'all. First, I guess I want to say, of course, welcome. Welcome to our harm reduction panel, where we're talking about how Narcan saves lives. So, first, I want to introduce myself. I am Jeanette Davis. I am the community resource specialist. No, what is my title? Yeah,
Women
community
once
health specialist,
again.
recovery supports. And I have the privilege to serve on the Logan Mason ROSC, which is Recovery Oriented Systems of Care. And in doing so, one of the things that we are really adamant about is to educate our community, to break stigma, and really share stories about recovery and the fact that, you know what, recovery is real and it is possible. And specifically, our time together here is to talk about harm reduction, specifically Narcan. Many of us do not know what Narcan is. We may not be familiar. Many of us are very aware of what Narcan is. And so, what our goal and our hope today is to educate, to put faces, names, and stories behind real life issues that we're facing. And so, we have an amazing panel that is joining us. Before I introduce them, I do want to do a quick shout out to the Oxford House. Right? It is the Oxford House where we are right now. They are hosting us. And if we are not aware of what an Oxford House is, it is a community um, from all across our country of folks who have decided that they want to create an opportunity for safe housing for people who are in recovery and who are adamant about staying and living in recovery. And so we have recently had the privilege of walking alongside the Oxford House and having this brand new 7 men home here planted in Lincoln. And they're doing amazing things. So one of the folks that are on our panel is a resident here, and I'll let him share more of that later. But we just want to give a huge shout out to the Oxford House, for the guys here, and for the community that has been receiving them very well. This is what we are trying to do as a ROSC, is to connect recovery community together so that we can empower and encourage one another. So again, that's kind of what we're doing here. Before we get into our conversation, there's a couple things that I want to share. One of them is, you guys can see these balloons. We intentionally wanted to have this panel on this day. Today is Overdose Awareness Day.
Mhm.
And so, one of the things that we do in recovery is pause and remember those who have not made it through recovery. This disease is very real, and we have all experienced great losses of some kind. We wanted you to be able to get involved with what we're doing here because we understand that recovery, addiction has touched so many homes, right? Would you all agree that either we know, we live with, we work with someone who may be struggling?
Yes.
And so we want to allow for your loved ones to be recognized as well. So during our broadcast, if you have a name of a loved one that you've lost in this fight, we would love for you to share that name with us. We will be writing them on the balloons here. And before our time is over together, we're going to go outside and we're going to speak those names out loud as well as release them into the atmosphere with the hope that lives lost are also a way to empower lives that are still going, right? That there is still hope. So that's a little spiel of kind of what we have going on. There's a few things I'll share as we continue to talk to and with each other. We do invite you to put any questions you may have in the chat. Again, a loved one's name that you would like to have recognized. But I'm going to pause here and I'm just going to go around, and if we can get everyone's name, and I'm going to start here and we're going to go around this way. If you can share your name.
Yes, my name is Kalen Ballard.
And Kaylin, if I can just poke on you for a little bit, you are a resident here at the Oxford House,
Yeah,
correct?
I am resident. I'm actually the president of the Oxford House here.
All right. All right. President of the Oxford House, I love it. Because leadership, yes. We know that leadership and having those opportunities for leadership opens more doors even in our own recovery. So thank you for opening your home to us and for being part of this discussion. And your name?
I'm Stacia.
And Stacia, where are you from?
I'm from Lincoln, but I reside in Bloomington now. So.
Absolutely. Love that you're here.
I'm Samantha.
And you are from?
I am from Lincoln as well. This is my hometown.
All right. And at the end?
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Crystal Ray. And I am from Ohio, but I've been in Lincoln for 23 years now.
Awesome. So I'm so excited to have each one of y'all here to join us to share part of your story. Before we jump into some personal stories, I did want to kind of start this with the same understanding of specifically what harm reduction is. So, in order for us to kind of speak the same language and make sure we're on the same page, I'm just pulling an excerpt from the SAMHSA website um, that talks about harm reduction. And just so, again, this is an opportunity to educate, to break stigma. And so a little blurb about harm reduction so we're on the same page. Harm reduction is a practical and transformative approach that incorporates community-driven public health strategies, including prevention, risk reduction, and health promotion to empower people who use drugs and their families with the choice of to live healthy, self-directed, and purpose-filled lives. So that's just a little piece. A lot of times we hear, why Narcan? Why can people get Narcan? Why is it free? Why should we be concerned about Narcan? And so this is the conversation to address those questions. I will say right here too that if you see the little red box, which corner am I in? Is it the left or this one here? This corner, if you see the red button, that means you're on live with us and that we can have conversation right now. If you have some questions you'd like to put in the chat. If you don't see that, that means you were on rebroadcast. And we still will be following up. So please feel free to share this right now. That's another way you can support us, is by sharing this broadcast to others while you're watching. The more that we can inform and educate each other, the more powerful we are as a community. So with saying all that, I'm going to go ahead and what we're going to do is spend a little bit of time. Each individual is going to share some of their story and how Narcan has impacted their life. And we're going to start with Samantha. So, Samantha, you share whatever you feel you'd like to share about your Narcan story.
All right. So I'm just gonna say, if it wasn't for Narcan, I would not be where I am today. I've actually been Narcaned several times. However, the last time, Crystal here is actually the one that saved my life. Her and the father of my kids. I grew up in Lincoln, and I was one of those junkies that everybody talked about, and it was very discouraging. You know, the night that I had gotten Narcan, I was there was like multiple comments on one of those Scanner Chronicle sites talking about they should have just let the junkie die. All kinds of things. There was an individual that had gotten hurt and needed an ambulance at the same time, and they just, you know, all the comments about, well, she should have just been left for dead, was really, really hurtful, you know. During my addiction, I had lost my kids. And I also had lost the father of my kids to an overdose, which was the jarring experience that got me clean. Um, I went to treatment. I did the 28-day treatment at Chestnut Health Systems in Bloomington. And then I too went to Oxford afterwards. I was in Oxford for 15 months, and during that process, I ended up getting my kids back. Um, I also, one of my goals was to be able to come back to Lincoln and show people that recovery is possible. And I've been trying my best to do that for what, 2 years now? 2, 3 years. I've been clean for
More than that.
4 years. However, I've been a part of the ROSC for
Mhm.
little more than 2 years. Um, I don't really like to speak in front of people. However, I feel like it is my responsibility to share my pain and my struggles because that's what I connect with, with other people sharing their struggles and their pain and showing me how they got through it. Um, so I ended up getting my kids back. I got an opportunity to help put together our memorial walk that we have coming up on September 30th, and I got the opportunity to speak. And there was a flyer for Recovery Corps, and I originally wanted to go to Springfield because that's where I had to go because Lincoln didn't have any resources for continued recovery whenever I got clean. So I had to go to Springfield. But that's originally where I wanted to go. However, the only opening was at Chestnut Health Systems in Bloomington. And I had the worst day of my life there and ultimately the best day of my life in that building, which was the day that I got clean. And through my journey, and because Narcan saved my life, and my friend here, I in October became a case manager in the inpatient treatment part of it. So I am a former client who is now a case manager. So I get to help other people, along their journey as well. And I'm super passionate about Narcan. Um, and not only did it save my life, it saved multiple lives. It doesn't enable us, right? It just helps save our lives. Whenever we're using, when we're in active addiction, we don't make sure that we have Narcan with us. Like that's the least of our worries. Like, oh, I'm gonna go get this. I need to make sure I got Narcan. Like that wasn't that was the least of my worries. Um, but because people have Narcan on them, and my life was saved and the lives of other people were saved, all these names that we have on these balloons, like if Narcan would have been there, we can't predict, but however, the outcome may have been different.
Would have been a different percentage.
Maybe, Narcan truly saves lives. It is a big reason why I am where I am today. It is a big reason why my children don't have to go to two separate headstones to see their parents.
Mm.
And it gave my children their mom back ultimately.
Yeah.
It gave me a chance to change my mind and want to live my life instead of die every single day. And just choose to live. Recovery is amazing, and I just want to say, that if you are struggling, um, you are not your mistakes. There is help out there. I my you can message me anytime. You can call me. You can whatever. Please reach out. I would rather help take somebody to treatment or sit down and talk to somebody than have to go to their funeral. I've been to way too many. There's a lot of balloons in here, and I really wish we didn't have that many. However, we do, because that's the reality of the disease of addiction. And I'm just really grateful to be here. Thanks for listening. That's all I got.
Well, thank you for
You
sharing.
made
So-
my face bleed.
there are a lot of emotions that come from these kind of conversations, and Samantha is a very humble in this process, and that's why I think I have such a huge affection for her, and what she's gone through and what she continues to choose to do. And I don't want this moment to pass. I want us to hear that this young lady went from active addiction, Narcan being part of that journey, going into a treatment center, going into a recovery home, being available and participating in community events that focus on recovery, seeked out resources that were available to her, followed through with that, was accepted into a program, worked her butt off in that, opened up another position opportunity for herself by her work ethic and her commitment to recovery, was hired on full time, and now she serves. This is why Narcan matters, folks. This is why we are here. Because if we maintain the thinking that if we choose to use and we overdose and die, that's our fault, we are missing out on change agents and folks that we need. We need Samanthas in our community. We need an example of what it looks like to fail, to dust ourselves off and keep going. We need to see that we have a community of recovery that is going to support and walk us along this journey. So I just continue to cheer you on. When she shares that she would is willing to be a listening ear, to be available to those who are struggling, she's telling you the truth. And that's what it takes, right? Each one teach
Absolutely.
one, right?
Yeah.
That we cannot do this thing alone. And so, again, that's another reason why this panel is so important and why we want you to share this. And we want you to come with questions. If you have questions, we're asking you to put them in the chat. We may not get to them all at this go round, but we want to be able to have this difficult discussion because we understand that there's a lot of questions. And if you have not experienced addiction, correct me if I'm wrong, all of us, that it's very difficult to explain, right? And so we come here vulnerable and just willing and wanting to share another way. So I want to thank you for sharing. We are going to keep things rolling. If you're just joining us, we are here for a harm reduction panel focusing on how Narcan has saved folks' lives. And also, you'll see these black balloons here. Guys, if you, today is Overdose Awareness Day. If you have someone, a loved one that you've lost in this fight, we would love for you to share their name with us. We are committed to putting their name on one of these balloons. And at the end of our time together, we are going to go outside and release those together, having a moment to speak those names out loud. So if you'd like to join us with that, please just add that name in the comment, and we will make sure to include you and your loved one. We are going to keep things rolling. We're going to move on to Kaylin. Like Kaylin shared a little bit about him being here, the president of the Oxford House here in Lincoln. I'm so excited for that. But Kaylin, I'm going to be quiet and allow you to share what you'd like to share.
Okay. So my name's Kalen. A lot of people in Lincoln know me as Kato. So I'm trying to steer away from that. That Kato Kato was supposed to be a lifer. People said that I would never get clean. Narcan literally saved my life more times than once. This last time, it was 6 of them. Yeah, so Samantha mentioned about struggle. one thing I like to share is that getting through struggling and struggling in life is okay for me because it makes me appreciate happiness more. Okay. Um, a little bit about me, some more about me. I um I haven't ever done my best as Kaylin. I'm still trying to totally figure out who Kaylin is. Um, I have 128 days clean today.
Whoa.
We celebrate every day.
Yes, we do. Um, I have been to treatment 8 times. I was embarrassed. But you know what? That's a thought distortion. Because I'm grateful and appreciative that I got to the 8th time. Because some people don't.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm president of the Oxford House. I'm assistant manager at Domino's, and that doesn't seem like a huge deal to some people, but let me
That's a
tell
huge
you
deal.
what.
That's a huge deal.
You know,
Big boy.
yeah. I was supposed to be a lifer.
Mhm.
Wasn't supposed to have a job. Wasn't supposed to be managing nothing. I'm not supposed to be taking thousands of dollars to the bank and deposited for the Oxford House by myself.
Trust.
Yeah. It's just so much of a better life. There's some people who still to this day they can see me walking on water and they say it's because I can't swim. You know. So, and that's okay. I've lost a lot of people. Um, so I'm doing this for myself. Through my recovery, I can keep them people, kind of alive inside me.
That's right.
You know, I think about so many of them every single day. Just if they had known about Narcan, and let me tell you what, okay, Narcan is not a crutch. It's not for me. I did not ever go somewhere and be like, before I got high, excuse me, do you have Narcan here? Not one time. Okay. All lives do matter. Period.
Yes.
Period. Okay.
Say
Addiction
that
is
again.
very real. I harmed a lot of people. Biggest of all, I harmed myself. So today, I do unto others how I want them to do to me, and I treat myself the same way. I'm a little bit nervous, and it's okay, though. I'm super grateful that this is being done. Uh, and I can't really think about the future. One thing Samantha did say about September 30th, the Memorial Walk, I got invited to speak there and perform. That's super awesome.
That's right.
Just so many doors that have opened, and it's from a sociological standpoint, this is deviant. This is a deviant path for me. It's not my normal. And tell you what, I can get used to it. I like it. I swear I
We
like
like
it.
you.
You know, I like it. I'm beginning to love it. You know, and I'm beginning to love Kaylin.
That's right.
So I just want to say one more time that Narcan saves lives. All lives do matter. I think we're supposed to go 10 minutes. I don't know. Like, whatever.
That's okay.
You did a great job, buddy.
That's all I got. Well, thank you.
But
Thank
Kaylin,
you.
I appreciate that, and I see your passion, your emotion, right? This is a difficult journey, folks. This is not. No one woke up one day thinking, "Oh, I want to be an addict," right? In the same way that sharing our truth can be very difficult, and so thank you for being vulnerable, all of you. And again, I see your passion, your commitment. And let me share for those of us who may not understand addiction is that when we come to a place of understanding or awareness that we haven't had before, and we get a glimpse of what life could look like, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And, you staying committed to your community, that's not always easy, y'all. Sometimes it's easy to move out of where our situation started and to stay in our communities and not only stay, but thrive, come back to give back, is a huge thing, and it's needed and necessary. And so thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your service. Because this is not something that these folks are choosing to get and move on and forget. As a matter of fact, they're committed into passing it on to the next person. And I think that all of us that have had this journey know how powerful that is to pass it on. So thank you for sharing so much. If you are just jumping on again, we just want to pause and say thank you for joining us here. We are having our first harm reduction panel focusing on how Narcan saves lives. We are also going to be doing a balloon release at the end of our time together. If you do have a loved one that you've lost in the midst of this struggle, please share their name with us. We will be writing them on the balloons here, as well as speaking their name out loud before we leave each other. So we are going to move on to Stacia. Stacia is from Lincoln, or has a majority, right, of life lived in Lincoln, and has not a resident here, but is committed to different events that she's helped support us along the way because of her commitment to the community. And so, Stacia, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Stacia. I'm 34 years old, and like they said, I'm from Lincoln. I do reside in Bloomington now, but I'm extremely passionate about coming back and helping where I came from. I think that's important in recovery and in life in general to always know where you came from, and how you can get better each day. It wasn't like that before. I did not care about the next day. I did not care about being better for anyone. I cared about just chasing that high. I'm passionate about Narcan because I wouldn't be here without Narcan. And a lot of people aren't here because they didn't have Narcan. It wasn't available. Nobody knew about it. And there's many thousands, millions maybe of lives that will be saved with Narcan or could be saved with Narcan. I also want to touch on, I think that there's a stigma with Narcan that it's just a bunch of junkies. Why save them? They're just ruining their lives. The beginning of my addiction started when I was 19 years old. I hate to say this, but the day I gave birth to my son is the day my addiction started with opiates. I was young. They prescribed me Vicodin, which is an opiate, and it just kept getting worse and worse. Then it wasn't enough, so we're going up. So my addiction actually came from the medical field. I did not think at 19 years old that taking this medicine that my doctor prescribed me was going to lead to me doing the things that I had to do to get heroin, hurting everybody in my life, especially my children, and just everything that comes with addiction. So I am a mother. I have 3 boys, and I have 1 on the way. Also a boy. So there's that. So if you're ever wondering. Yeah, but due to my addiction, I did lose every single one of my kids. I now have custody of two, and I will have custody of this one with no DCFS, DPS involvement whatsoever.
That's right.
And I never thought that that would happen. I never thought that would happen ever in my life. I had just given up completely on the fact that I was going to be a mom, and that, I was going to be a good mom, especially that. But I'm so grateful for my children, and I'm so grateful to be able to be the person that they need in their lives. All of my children's fathers are in active addiction. They're all on heroin. And it's only me. It's only me to show them that it doesn't have to be like that. And they don't have to be a statistic. They don't have to follow. The reason that I actually ended up in recovery is this last time I went to prison 2 years ago, I had to give birth to my youngest in prison. And I'd lost my kids, and you would think that would be enough. But actually giving birth to your child in prison and then leaving him in the NICU at 2 days old and walking away in cuffs and just not knowing anything really brought me to my knees. So after that, I was released from prison. I did everything that I had to do. I moved to it wasn't an Oxford house, but it was like that in Chicago. And I would take the train every weekend to come see my kids. I completed every class, every step needed. And then I ended up on this September, my aftercare ended, so he's completely mine now. Like, there is nobody else. But I don't know. It's really been a great experience at the end for me to get into recovery. I don't have a very big support system, so when I got clean and got around other people that were clean, they became my family, and they became people that I could lean on, and the people that I've needed this entire time. The people, places, and things are a huge thing. Like, I did have to move. I am now able to come and visit and be around people, but at first in early recovery, it was not a good idea for me. I've had a lot of trauma, and that has always caused me to relapse. Like, just the thoughts of it, any kind of stress or anything like hinting that we're going back towards that again, especially with men, has, I've always just given into that. My ex-husband recently just relapsed and left, and I thought there would be no way I could make it through, but I did. Yeah. Because today it's not about a man, today it's about my kids and myself. And for the first time in my life, I've been able to put myself and my children first, and that would have never happened ever before, because the only thing that came first was a bag of dope. And so touching on the stigma of, Narcan's just for junkies, there are millions of people prescribed opiates every day. It doesn't have to be heroin. It could be whatever. It's not just a junkie wasting their life and overdosing. It's your grandfather that had a hip surgery and just took one too many pills because he forgot. Or your kid gets in the medicine cabinet and takes the wrong pill. There are tons of people that can use Narcan. And I just think it's really important to just not focus on who needs it, but that this is a thing that's going to come for life. Opiate addiction is not going to end tomorrow. It's not going to end anytime soon. And so this needs to be on hand for everyone. It needs to be made available, and it needs to be talked about and learned about, and not just stigmatized and demonized. No matter your opinion on Narcan, it works. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it works. It will save a life. And that moment between life or death, there is an option for someone to live. And so I am extremely passionate about that, and just about helping other people as well, because I harmed everybody. I destroyed everything in my path, and that's not who I am today. Today I want to give back. Today I want to not watch people go through what I went through, because you don't have to. You don't have to. It's not easy. It's not easy coming into this life, and I'm not going to lie to you and say that it is and that everything's sunshine and rainbows.
Nope.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle every single day, but somehow at the end of the day, I keep making it, and I keep progressing and moving forward. I have a full-time job, and I work 40 hours a week. I take care of my kids on my own. Never could I have done that before, and I don't have to do anything dirty to do it. I just have to go to work. Oh, that's a little bit dirty. I work at a factory. So, scratch that. But, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much my story, and that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank
did
you,
great,
Stacia. Stacia, I again have a personal place in my heart for Stacia, and as I sit here and listen to you share, I get to see a miracle, and it's amazing. Because the question here is, why Narcan? Why should we make sure that other people know about it, and why it's important, and whose lives is it actually saving? And to be witness of such transformation that's happened in these lives, just these folks right here, is incredible. And what you're hearing, the theme is that these folks not only are thriving in their personal lives, in their children's life, but they are committed to giving back. Okay? And that's a component we don't want to miss. This is why it matters. Because the pain and the hurt of addiction is very real. Families are suffering every single day. We have a connection to that suffering, from causing it to experiencing it with other loved ones. And so we just, again, I just want to pause, and as the audience is watching, to really understand you're witnessing miracles happening in each and every one of these lives. And it's coming from something that is out bigger than us externally, right? Just having something that could save someone's life, to then being committed to doing what needs to be done. And so that's what you're witnessing as we're sharing these stories. So thank you so much for sharing. And God, I'm just cheering you on. It makes my heart happy, y'all. Can you tell? If you're just joining us again, just want to recap, we are doing a harm reduction panel focusing on how Narcan saves lives. We have our panelists that are sharing a bit about their stories. I also want to invite you. We have these black balloons that we'll be releasing at the end of our time together. If you have a loved one whom you've lost in the disease of addiction and you would like to recognize them, please share their name in the chat with us. We are going to speak those names out loud and release those balloons at the end of our time together. But just want to give you the opportunity to do that. If you have any questions or things that are coming to mind as you're hearing this, or even comments of encouragement, please feel free to drop those in the chat. We will be talking about those and looking at those from days to come. But this is our community, and we want to have conversation and communication. So please join us in that way. We are going to end with Crystal as far as our stories. We are going to go into some questions soon, but Crystal, if you could share some of your story. I'm going to add the little caveat, and I don't want to rob from your story, but the one thing that is unique, not unique, but really special about this panel right here is that Crystal was one of the people that administered Narcan to Samantha. Okay. And so not only understanding addiction in our own lives, but then being someone who was able to administer to save another life. And so I just love that connection we have here, and didn't know if you could speak on that a little bit and whatever's on your heart to share.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Crystal Ray.
I'm Crystal.
And I am a heroin addict. I've been clean from heroin for coming up on 5 years in February. think the last time Stacia and I were together was in the county jail.
Correct.
Um, So and I can honestly say that my story does not differ from anybody else that just spoke. I too lost my children. My addiction started also with pain medication, which I then got cancer, and then the doctors gave me a whole bunch of pain medication, and then ripped it out from underneath of me without even explaining your body becomes physically addicted to this medication. You end up with an addiction before you even know what that really means. And as a 25-year-old, I didn't have a clue. And to ask for help, one of y'all said something about Lincoln not having resources. Back when I very first actually needed help, we'll go back 2011. Very first time I ever did heroin outside of the pain medication, and that went on for several years before that. Um, there was no help in Lincoln, and by the time you become a junkie, you don't have a car. You've pissed off everyone in your life. They're not taking you anywhere. They're definitely not taking you to the doctor every day if you were trying to go through a methadone program, or at the time that I had started Suboxone, you had to go all the way to Carlinville. For perspective, that's almost 2 hours one way to get medication. And then at that point, you had to go once a week because it was experimental. Suboxone was, it was experimental. So, like a lab rat, we had to rush back down there once a week. And if you couldn't make that trip, what that meant for you was relapse, because it's such a crucial time in your beginning stages. The slightest thing sends us running, packing, because of that sickness. And that sickness is really what we end up. I mean, chasing a bag of dope is not about chasing a high, it's about maintaining being a functioning normal human being in and of itself. I can't go to the grocery store if I don't make sure I got money the night before and make sure the calls are made. And it's excessive. Anyhow, bringing it back around, I don't really want to focus too much on my addiction. Like I said, my story is no different. I want to talk about recovery, because that's what this is really about. The reason why the windshield is big and the rear view mirror is small is because your future is huge and the past is behind you. It's kind of irrelevant. So that made me who I am today. And who I am today is not that girl. I work at an up and coming electric vehicle manufacturing company. I literally have to walk into a secured building every day, like badge in, badge out. That's kind of funny, since 3 years ago I was in prison. I am also a full-time college student. I attend DeVry University, and I'm working on a bachelor's of science in IT, networking and programming systems, with a specialty in cybersecurity. I just started that in January, and I'm holding a 3.80 grade point average, which, might I add, makes me magna cum laude, and that's going to be a graduation with honors. And you best believe I'm still working on bumping that grade up, and I'm 9 months in. That's called potential, that I didn't realize I even had. I was good at math, and I didn't even know it. That up until that point, the only thing I've ever been good at is messing up my life. Like he said, managing. I managed to screw everything up. Gaining that trust, huge. Having the people that we hurt back in, just them allowing us the opportunity to be back in their lives. 3 of my 5 kids speak to me. Still working on that. But I mean, I have to live this life. I have to continue to show myself, first and foremost. I have to continue to show myself that I'm worth it and that I can do it, before I can prove to anybody else that I'm worth it and I can do it. You know, I feel like my relationships will come in due time when they are meant to be. But right now, I just have to focus on staying better. I would like to touch a little bit on the Narcan. I unfortunately wouldn't have survived the Narcan. I didn't survive the Narcan that they gave me because I wasn't actually overdosing on opiates. I was overdosing on Xanax, and I had to be shocked back to life, twice. So, just to touch on that a little bit, when we're in that, we are so hopeless and so helpless that we just don't care if we live.
Mhm.
How about, instead of putting a stigma on this, how about we call this loving our friends and families and communities that are in active addiction enough until they can love themselves? I can't stress this enough. Just because somebody does not see their potential does not mean that they don't have potential.
That's right.
And sometimes, for some of us hard-headed folks out here,
Mhm.
it takes a few times to figure out that we are well, we are good, we are okay exactly how we are in our own skins, and we can be productive. We do have a purpose. We just might not see it sometimes. And I say we because we are still addicts. That's never going to change. We're just in recovery now. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like the manager at your Domino's, your mom of 4 boys, this lady sitting next to me, all of us 5 years ago were running in and out of the same trap houses, using needles and doing things that we would cringe at today. Every single person that is sitting here talking today has been talked about, had people turn their backs on, literally shut doors and faces. I mean, the list goes on at the scrutiny that we get. But the look of surprise on someone's face when you walk into a room and you no longer carry those titles that they place on you, doesn't matter what your mind allows you to believe. Those titles were placed on you. We aren't our titles. We are humans. And each and every one of us, have a right to be here. Your opinion on someone else existing is not fair. That's playing God. I just want to leave this with one thought. Show of hands in the room of anyone that has lost somebody that had lung cancer because they smoked, right? Okay. I want you to think about this. They made a choice to smoke cigarettes, all right? They later in life got a disease because of that choice. Would you look at your loved one that is laying in a hospital bed, dying of lung cancer, and say, I'm not going to give you chemotherapy or any type of medication because you chose to smoke cigarettes? Does that make that disease any less of a disease? No, it does not. These medications are made to help people. Let's help people. Let's love our neighbors and love our friends and love our communities who are in active addiction until they can learn to love themselves. That's all I got.
I love that. Woo-hoo! Miss Crystal, right? Mic drop.
Drop the mic,
So
girl.
today's the first day I have the privilege of meeting Crystal. She's our, but what a dynamo you are, and I love your passion. I can feel it. Um, Even coming to understand how the four of you have a very unique relationship outside of this setting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who would have thought? Who would
Never
have thought?
We have all used together.
never in my life.
Yeah.
If someone would have said 5 years ago, the four of you
Right.
would be sitting in an Oxford house talking about how being clean and sober is so wonderful, I think we all would have walked away
Right.
laughing. Like,
Yeah.
you sound drunk.
Yeah.
And that is just a snapshot of how powerful this thing is. Why Narcan? Stop counting us out, right?
Yeah.
It's because we never can dictate or put someone in a box to decide when they'll reach their full potential, if they will reach their full potential. When we have stories of 8, treatment centers, thank God for that 8, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And so, again, this is a message that I wish for a lot of us it was one and done, right? The first time there was a consequence, then, but if we experienced that, then we would not have been walking in addiction.
Right.
Okay. One of the things that I share, kind of the visual I try to give folks, the first moment that I realized that addiction was part of my life and kind of what I was experiencing is when I realized that I was using without my own permission.
Mm.
Right? The moment where I used when I thought I would never ever and I didn't want to and did it anyway. And so until we get to that place and but this is the why Narcan is important, why this matters, why we need to talk about it, why we need to carry it even if it's not us, right? Because we don't know who's in the grocery store or who is in our workplace. We're asking those employers or HR departments to talk to your organization, your company about having Narcan in your building. Um, we are talking about making Narcan readily available to the community, which reminds me to give a little plug here. Here in Lincoln, there is at Family Custom Cleaners, which is on Woodlawn here in Lincoln, Illinois. They have graciously opened up their business to a harm reduction vending machine. This harm reduction vending machine is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And inside that machine, it has Narcan kits available. It has xylazine and fentanyl testing strips, all which are a part of harm reduction. So we really want to give a shout out to that business, that local business here for supporting us that way and making sure that you all know where it can be found if someone is seeking. That's just one place amongst as well as the health department, the police station. There are many places that we're trying to make it available. Also, should you need any Narcan, you can also contact me as a community health specialist, and I can make sure to get that to you as well. Also, Samantha as well. So we took some time, right, to share just a little bit of personal kind of how y'all got here, the fact that this is a freaking miracle and it's incredible. But I do want to just kind of throw some questions out that maybe we haven't fully covered or if we just want to hit a little bit more on. Mm-hmm. And this is a question and I'm going to just throw it out, and if you feel like you have a response to that, we'll go there, and if not, we'll move on to the next question. But the question I'm throwing out into the atmosphere is, why do we need to know about Narcan? Why? Give me a few 1-2 points. I know you've shared your personal story, but what is the point? Why do we need to know about Narcan? Why do they, on the other side of this video, why do they need to know about Narcan?
I feel like because there's such a stigma attached to it, people are like, I don't need that. I don't need Narcan. However, kind of like what Stacia was sharing, it could be an accident. It might not be somebody who uses drugs every day. A kid could be walking through the park and pick up something that somebody threw, or, it could be anything. And I feel like everybody needs it, from people who are using, people who are not using, the police, the firemen, the everything. My children know how to use Narcan. I have taught them how to use it, and that's not just because I'm in recovery myself and I could relapse, or no, it's because you know just recently there was a couple young kids who overdosed. My kids are teenagers now. Like, teenagers experiment with things, so
They're putting fentanyl in weed
everything,
and all of these things where like normal
it's,
stuff could be tainted.
yes,
When
it
you,
just it saves lives. Like, for the person saying, I don't need that shit, I don't, da 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 da. Like, what if your kid needs it one day? You know, what if somebody your best friend, my best friend Megan, she overdosed and died, and she was my best friend. We knew everything about each other, everything, all our dirty, deepest secrets. I didn't know she was using heroin. I didn't know. You know what I mean? So just because you think you know, you probably don't. You really don't. Just like, this Oxford house coming into our community. Everybody didn't want it to be here. They didn't want it to be here at all because they don't want these junkies in their neighborhood. Well, I promise you, probably within a block radius, you probably got someone dealing drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather people be here recovering and have a program that they have to follow and certain rules and things, people who are clean? I mean, or just the random person down the street that, is your neighbor and is probably doing things that you don't know about. Narcan is very important.
There's something that I kind of I get the privilege of going into different settings and talking about these things, and one of the things that I do hear about is just the fact that I don't know anyone who would need it,
Mm-hmm.
or um, and like we said a little bit earlier, I think we all agree that we are, or we live with, work with, somewhere in our circle of influence, there's someone that could potentially be struggling. Um, and a lot of times this disease is very secretive, right? We don't want to expose. We know what the world says about those of us who struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and it can make it very difficult to share our truth. What I say or encourage people, I hope it comes off encouraging. It may come off a little harsh at times, but if you think you don't know someone who may be struggling, I suggest maybe submit as a suggestion that you pause and think about if you are a safe place for someone to share their truth. And that's a difficult thing, because we can get so caught up, and if this is not something that has touched us personally, we think it doesn't matter and it's not a part of our story. And I will share to you, just in the same ways that Narcan has saved their lives, they too, in their own capacity, in their own circles of influence, have helped other people in the same way, who have gone on to do other incredible things. And so um, I just wanted to make sure that we talk about why, right? Why Narcan is. And I also want to move on to ask why is important, or how can I say it? What is the one thing that if you could share, leave something with someone right now, what do you speak to our audience? What do you want to leave with them regarding Narcan?
I think just why not?
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, a lot of people don't think things will happen to them until they happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, and I also feel like if, if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Couldn't have said it better myself, man.
I mean, if you were in a restaurant and saw somebody choking, you would definitely use CPR. Or at least somebody would. I think Narcan's about the equivalent of that. Um, you know, it just doesn't have the stigma. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it could save somebody's life, and I think that's all that matters. I think every addict is a mother, a sister, a brother, a whatever, husband, wife, and you might not know that they're an addict, and when they fall out, if you have Narcan on hand, it has no effects on somebody who is not using opiates. So if somebody falls out in front of you and you don't know why, if you have Narcan on hand, you can use that Narcan, and if it works, you just save their life. But if not, now you know it's not opiates. What do we do now? You know. So I think it's super important, and I think it just needs to be learned about and taught, and just general knowledge. It's not just for addicts. So.
And if you use Narcan on somebody that's not ODing on opiates, it does nothing. It flushes out your
Right.
system. That's one thing to know. There's no harm, that'll be done.
But they are going to be mad.
Yeah.
They are going to be
My
very
God.
mad.
Be very angry.
Well,
And-
and that, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Go
You're fine. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, another reason why it's important to know about it is to know how to correctly administer it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just want to have a tool and not know how to use the tool.
Right.
So, that's a good point.
Well, I think, Crystal, you kind of opened the door to our segue. I'm
Yeah.
going to go ahead because one of the things we wanted to do with our time together is talk about how to administer some Narcan. And so you kind of opened the door, right? Perfect for our demonstration. And this is what a Narcan kit looks like that we have available here locally. It comes in a box. It comes with instructions. And as we're talking about it, where can we find it? Like I mentioned to you, the health department, we have the harm reduction vending machine here in Lincoln. Or you can contact me too at jedavis@chestnut.org, and we can help get you Narcan, whether that be at your place of business, whether that be at your own home, whether that be at recovery meetings that you participate in. Each box has 2 nasal sprays that come in here. Why? Why is there more than one, y'all?
Because sometimes you need more than one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the stuff that's going on and around our communities, like Kaylin shared earlier, and I don't want to miss it. The last time he needed Narcan, 6 were administered to him. That's really important for us to hear, is because again, the risk is very real. The potency of what is available can be unpredictable and can be exactly how it wipes us out. And so the more we understand about Narcan having it available, at least administering, waiting, contacting EMS to come, performing CPR and being certified that way, all those things can matter in saving a life. Why does it matter? These lives right here tell you why it matters that we do that. So along in the box, we do have a full pamphlet that has all the instructions here, right? That's can be difficult to follow. I do understand that. That's why we wanted just to take a second here to, I want to put that there. That's going to make a lot of noise. But Sam, we have an actual Narcan. Now, the reason why we're going to go ahead and use this has been heat exposed. One thing I do want to talk about with Narcan that is important, that it's saved in a room temperature that is not too hot and that is not too cold. It can affect the potency of the medication and its effectiveness. So we want to make sure. This one, however, in this dreaded heat that we just came out of, unfortunately got left in the car. And so it's not safe to use, but we're going to use it for the demonstration purposes here. Sam, so do you want to kick off a little bit of kind of direct us?
Sure, I have just a paper here that goes step by step on what to do. The first step is know the signs of overdose. Signs are a person is passed out and you cannot wake them up. Breathing very slowly or making gurgling sounds or not breathing at all. I know that like a lot of times when people are overdosing, like the sound is just unreal.
Death curdle.
Like, yeah, it's like a curdling. I don't know. I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
It's traumatizing.
It is very
to see.
traumatizing. It's very noticeable.
Yeah.
You know, you'll know. And then the lips are blue and grayish color. The next step is check for response. Shake them, shout to wake them up. If there's no response, grind your knuckles into their chest bone like 5-10 times. So you're gonna, go into their chest bone, or even go like this on each side. If the person still does not respond, you're gonna call 911. Tell the 911 dispatcher, I think someone's overdosing. If you report an overdose, you and the overdose person have significant protections under. Okay, never mind.
But you know what? That's important.
Do, yes. It just said a different state, but there is. What is it called? I don't know what it's
The
called.
Samaritan law.
Good Samaritan,
Good Samaritan law. So that's important because I know sometimes when we see stuff like this, we don't want to get involved because we don't want to get involved, right? We don't want to get into it. And I'm hoping that through the years, these laws have been recognized and created because some of us have tried to operate in this and had consequences. And so understanding that is something that has been addressed to an extent, that there is protections for stepping into a situation like this.
I just want to say real quick that even when you administer Narcan, to call 911 or get medical help, because even if they just come back for a second, that doesn't mean, yes, it pushes the opiates out of the receptors, but that doesn't mean that it's over. So there could be other complications due to that overdose that overdose may have caused that need to be treated and looked at and assessed. So I would always administer it and still call 911.
Yep. Absolutely. And so that is a really, because we're here is to help educate, our communities, but that is a huge caveat we want to include, is that no one can help serve you best the way that medical professionals can, and that knowing that even though you administer, someone comes to, doesn't mean that overdose can't kick back in and still have issues. So thank you for pointing that out, because it's a vital point.
It's because depending on how much they use, when that Narcan wears off, you use one, the Narcan wears off, and then
they go right back
into it.
Yep.
All right, so you're gonna take the Narcan nasal spray out of the box, peel back the tab with the circle to open the Narcan, the nozzle and the plunger. Hold the Narcan nasal spray with your thumb on the bottom of the plunger and your first and middle finger on either side of the nozzle. You're going to tilt the person's head back and provide support under the neck with your hand. Gently insert the tip of the nozzle into one's nostril until your fingers are on both sides of the nostril.
All the way.
Press the plunger firmly to give the dose of Narcan. Remove the Narcan from the nostril after giving the dose. It says wait and watch the person closely. If the person does not respond in 2 minutes, repeat the steps and give the second dose of Narcan nasal spray. So once you give the Narcan, like the whole chest massaging thing is a good idea as well. And then you're gonna put the person on their side. You need to roll them over on their side and place them in the recovery position, which is on their side with one leg propped over and then their hands up if you can. Narcan is famous for making people vomit.
Definitely don't want to bring somebody back from the brink of the dead just to watch them choking to death on their own vomit.
Right. So we didn't have anyone kind of lay out and all this stuff, but I did want Sam to kind of walk through. Like I said, I know I pulled that big, huge one out. There is a quick guide that is attached directly to the actual dosage. And for demonstration purposes, we're going to show you what it looks like. And it is that. It's like a nasal spray that goes into your nose that will be pushed all the way up. Once that is administered, this is no longer valuable. It is then trash. It cannot be used again. But that is as simple as it is. And so we want to get that up and in as far as we can, head tilted back in the recovery position once waiting the 2 minutes, and then moving forward. So just wanted to give you, sometimes it can be really scary. I know when this started, right, it was only the injection one, and then people were really like, I don't want to get needles and that kind of thing. Yep. This has changed that. This has made it very user friendly. And again, should you have any more questions, should your agency or your organization, your business or your company want to have trainings, we are happy to help connect those dots for you and have people come in to teach your staff or yourselves how to administer, why it's important. And even if it's just a discussion on maybe why it would be a good idea, we'd love to be able to help with that. Again, some places, health department, you can get Narcan. You can receive Narcan at the harm reduction vending machine here. In other, say it again.
The courthouse.
The courthouse has bathrooms. There are different places within our community that we have, and business owners have allowed us to put Narcan. Again, because we never know. We never know when a life could be saved. So we just want to educate our community more. Let's see.
I just want to say
yes,
things.
Absolutely.
So, number one, I want to say about Narcan that it can take up to 5 minutes to work, and that is a very scary, crucial time. And I always do an extra one just because I'm so scared. So do not be alarmed if it's not instantaneous. It doesn't mean it's not working. It is. And then the other thing is, I don't know, I was watching TV and there was actually a Narcan commercial. They are putting it on the television now and it will be available. I don't know if it is yet, but it will be available over the counter in pharmacies. So I don't know if it's going to be free or what it's going to be, but I do know that it is available at pharmacies. And right now I think you can go to the counter and ask for it and they will have to give it to you. So yeah. There's that too.
That is absolutely accurate. If for any reason in your community you're not able to go into a pharmacy and receive it for free, please contact your local health department and see what we can track down in that. But yes, that is another avenue to receive Narcan. Samantha, you said you wanted to say something.
So I did want to say that, like, it doesn't work right away, and if someone is not breathing and they do not have a full CPR, is important as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. And like Stacia just said, sometimes the medication seems like it's not working. The person's not breathing. Always call 911. That's hard for me to spit out.
Right.
God.
Let's talk about that for a second. Those who have experienced active addiction, to reach out, right, to 911, to the police, to any authority that could have say over our lives is extremely fearful. And so to do that, and so Crystal's is just acknowledging that's not always our go-to. That's not always our most comfortable move.
Nope. That
we have to get these other folks involved. But we have learned that for Narcan and for our efforts to truly help save someone's life, that is the added step that has to happen.
Absolutely. But CPR, and if you're not familiar with it, there are plenty of places that do trainings for CPR. If you don't know CPR, if you have any people in your life at all, you should probably just at least know that much, because whether they're a drug addict or not, that's useful. But yeah, CPR, definitely make sure you're doing that until the paramedics arrive. At least be that person's breath and their heartbeat until somebody can come help.
I know this sounds like a lot, but it's happening so quick. Like
Yes.
this whole
Yeah.
process happens so fast.
Mhm.
Yes.
And one thing I just wanted to mention though is that addiction does not discriminate
That's right.
at all.
Mhm.
Okay,
Say it
so yeah,
again.
the addiction does not discriminate at all.
There's lawyers, doctors, nurses,
It doesn't
anybody.
care who you are. Period.
Mhm.
And if you actually are walking around thinking that this doesn't affect you, you should probably seek professional help for your own mental problems because this affects our entire communities in a
Period.
negative way. So I don't see how trying to bring awareness and to push for better options for addicts, why should that ever be a problem? I don't understand the pushback on this ever. You
Mhm.
know, everybody deserves to exist.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I just want to take a moment, one again, just to acknowledge your vulnerability and your commitment and really thank you for that. Um, Although I'm on this panel as someone who's experienced active addiction, Narcan is not part of my story. However, hearing your stories always encourages me more to learn how, right, to be one who trains other people how to use this. Um, and it was important enough that we got together and had this time together because
Mhm.
this is what is going to change the stigma and change the perception of why. Because each of you are incredible human beings that have decided to share your pain, and that is not something we all can say. And so again, I want to applaud you, to encourage you. And this journey, I think it was Crystal who said we're recovering.
Mm-hmm.
This is an ongoing and consistent, intentional decision that we make every day on how we're going to move forward. And the truth is that we can't do it alone. um, from having each other to having whomever is listening with us taking the time to hear these true stories, these real life moments, and how you interpret that and share that in your circle of influence. All of this works together. And so it is definitely a push from, like I said, I'm part of a ROSC, which is Recovery Oriented Systems of Care.
Mhm.
And yes, we definitely are excited about the Logan Mason ROSC and the momentum that we're getting here in our area. One of the reasons why, again, that the ROSC is so important is because we want to make sure and continue to build a healthy recovery community.
Yes.
Right? We've heard some years ago, and many of us have experienced ourselves that we couldn't find the resources that we needed locally. It felt like the responses to our issues were um, take you out of town, send you somewhere else. This isn't our problem. We don't have this
Mhm.
problem here. We're really trying to change that. We're truly trying to acknowledge what is here and how we can use the experience that we have here to empower each other's recovery. What I am so grateful for about our time together is that, yes, there's a piece to share about the darkness of being an active addiction, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
But you see that those stories didn't stay here. You see that these are folks who have their children, who are thriving, and who continue to build, not only within ourselves, but build up our communities, and going into other communities and contributing there.
Mhm.
So,
Changing the future, period, in
abs-
general.
absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that we know is that Narcan is a piece to the puzzle, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Is a piece to the puzzle. It doesn't end there, it doesn't start there, but it is a piece. Other pieces that we want to add to are treatment centers that can be available to people, resources such as utilities, services to housing, right? Safe housing.
Teaching
Um,
people how to write resumes,
yes,
job
vocational training.
job searching, all kinds of good things.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we try to do as a ROSC is also to make sure that the community is aware of our recovery meetings. So we also put together a list of all the recovery meetings, whether that be AA, NA, CR, Smart Recovery, multiple pathways to recovery. As you see here, we celebrate. And so one of the ways that we try to help our community is make these available so that we can share. We have them in the business size card. We also have them in the little 5x7 flyers, and which also includes a QR code. This QR code will direct you to not just our meeting list, but also different resources such as AA.org, NA.org, CODA.org, different resources that are available for those who are seeking help with recovery. So we have these available. Should you um, are interested in having these at your business, or you're looking to find them, or please feel free to reach out in the comments here. I'll be happy to get these things to you. But again, it's another way to educate and make what's available so that we know where to go and who and how we can get involved. The other thing I want to make sure to shout out is Samantha mentioned it earlier, is September 30th is our Walk for Recovery. It is our time to get together, that we are going to, oh, we're switching out. The coffee's kicking in, y'all. The coffee's kicking in.
Baby gallbladder.
Yeah. So, what was I lost my train of thought.
The things that the recovery walk.
The recovery walk. So we're going to have our walk for recovery on September 30th from 1 to 3. We'll be together at Scully Park here in Lincoln. We would love for you to join us. Again, this is a time to recognize recovery, even acknowledge those that we may have lost, but also really sharing a message of hope with our community. So again, this is not just for people who have experienced active addiction. This is for the coworkers and our friends and our allies and the people who are curious, and maybe you just have some questions and you want a safe place to ask those questions. Join us. We're going to have resource tables there. We're going to have different agencies that are going to have great information. And those of you who are in recovery looking for other opportunities, join us. As Samantha shared with you earlier, that's really how her whole journey into now becoming a mental health professional in this field happened. And so, again, just trying to create different pathways to other job opportunities, right? So, do we have any other names that have come in regarding one? We are going to get ready to wrap this thing up. And one of the things that we are going to do is to release our balloons. So we have a list of names that have come in. Some have already been written on. We have, and we are going to speak everyone's name. Is that Dwayne? Is that how you would say that? Dugan? Oh, Dugan. Oh, I'm sorry, I totally chopped that up. I'm terrible. Dugan. If we can add Dugan's name to a balloon as well. And so, any final, as we're kind of doing this here, any final last minute thoughts that we want to put out there? Any thank yous, any shout outs you want to make? Now's the moment to do that.
I want to say something real quick. It was something that I didn't really touch on because it's a little bit of an emotional problem for me. My children's father passed away last summer from a drug overdose. So we are, as a family, still grieving that. Right now I sit with anger with him. And life sometimes, we still go through those emotions. The thing that breaks my heart about it is the homeless camp that he was in Iowa. If something like this could be available for people like that, I just want to stress the fact that that homeless man that died in that field was my children's father. He was someone's son. He was loved, and he is missed. So, I wish that would have been available in that area. Making people aware of this can hopefully save somebody else. and keep somebody's parents at home. That's all I got for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal.
Mm.
Again, today is Overdose
So I don't know
Awareness
about it.
Day. We have used this day and this platform to pause and talk about Narcan and that it saved lives, and hearing from the folks whom they've actually lives have been saved. So we are going to now transition. Again, I just want to reiterate my thanks and my gratitude. Other people's comments have totally been encouraging for you all. Thanking you for sharing your story. Thank you for being so brave.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
It was an honor.
Logan, Mason counties, stay tuned. We need to continue to partner. We need to continue to work together, and we need to continue to acknowledge that this is a thing, and that together we have the strength and the ability to make a difference. And that's what this is about. Should you have any more questions or want to continue dialogue, if this is something that interests you, if this is something that you want to be a part of, events like this, our ROSC Council meets the third Thursday of every month, and currently we meet via Zoom, and that is open to anyone in the community who is interested in joining us. I can put the information on how to get a hold of me in the comments as well. To make that available. I will also share that we, Recovery in Action, our subcommittee group, we are a group of people with lived experience who get together and who is actually part of planning this event and the events that continue to come forth. We meet the second Tuesday of every month at 4:30, and we can add that address and all that contact information available to you. These are ways that if you're sitting there thinking, well, what can I do? Share this video. That's just one thing you can do right from your seat. Ask questions. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't judge a person's situation and their life by how they're carrying their pain. Ask. All these things make a difference, and I couldn't say it better than Crystal did for us today, is help love our neighbor enough until they're able to love themselves. That's what this thing is about. Any effort to bring awareness is just loving on our fellow person who is hurting and needs help. And you can make a difference in that. So again, thank you for joining us today. Be looking for more things like this to come. And we look forward to more of the community joining us in our effort to push this agenda to save people's lives. So we are going to now transition. Bear with us because we're going to be moving around. But together we are going to transition upstairs and outside with our balloons. And we are going to read those names together. And then we will have a moment of silence, and we're going to release our balloons that have the names attached to them. So, are we ready to move up?
Yeah. I'm gonna get on my TikTok and.
All right.
I am going to write these names real quick.
I think there's just one that didn't get on there yet.
No, we got a whole list.
Okay. I will write this one here.
Which one are you writing?
Okay. Can I help you? Bear with us here.
Here's one that's not. Oh, the other ones are full. Josh.
hard to hear. So
We're still on.
oh. That's okay.
Hopefully.
So, you're still live?
Yeah.
Kim, Jean, you don't think that's something.
Good.
Do what?
Wait, add a name. You know.
You got it?
Yeah. You got the name?
I'm waiting for it.
Okay.
Okay.
He got a high shot, but he was inactive addiction.
Okay. All right. All right. Bobby. Did you write Sean?
Yes.
You wrote Jack?
Yes. All right. So let's move on upstairs.
Let's do
We're
it.
moving to do the boardroom.
You got those, Samantha?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go.
Somebody out. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
All right, we are out here for our balloon release. Um, I can take this off. Why don't you go here? And we're going to read the name.
All right. Can we have a moment of silence? Please remember these names. John Beck, Ashley, Brian Beck, Megan Horton Forbes, Nikita, Mikey V, Sean, Alex, David, John M, Sterling, Courtney, Kenny, Brandon S, Mark, Dugan, Josh, Steve, Chad, Bobby, and Jack,
We have one more, Franco.
and Franco.
In this moment, you are never forgotten.
They'll go. As soon as the wind blows.
Those stubborn ones.
We got a couple of them hanging on.
Yeah.
There went one. One just left the tree. There goes the other one, Caleb. There's just one more on the very top of the tree. Get scooting, sir, ma'am. You got business to handle.
Polly John, he always wants to be a part of everything.
My God.
Thank you again for joining us for this very important conversation. We look forward to continuing to partner with you as the community, creating a very powerful, strong recovery community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.